My name is Gigi. I prepared an ISO presentation. As some of you guys know, I, beginning of this year, launched Unruggable, which is my one-on-one consultancy / mentoring where I help people with choosing the right signing device for them, how to generate the seed, how to store it, set it up, multi-sig, inheritance planning, running a node, basically accepting Bitcoin payments in your shop. Is it physical or e-commerce? So basically, I try and help out people with any self-custody things that they need. Let's hit it up with the first thing when it comes to self-custody, which is your signing devices. So there is many different wallets out there, but to me particularly, I only use air-gapped wallets, which means the device never connects to the computer, so it never touches the internet, making sure that no malicious stuff goes on your device. And there's three particular devices that I use, which I will share with you in this presentation. But that doesn't mean they are the best devices. It's just what I personally like most. And to give you a quick background of hardware devices, as most of you guys know, Trezor, everybody knows Trezor. They were the first guys that actually developed the first hardware wallet, late 2013, early 2014. They were also the ones, they developed the BIP39 standard, which is the seed phrase. So you have a 12 or 24 seed phrase. When back to air-gapped wallets, Trezor unfortunately doesn't do air-gapped wallets. All of their wallets are USB connected, so you need to connect it to the computer. So personally, I don't use it, but don't take it wrong. I have nothing against the Trezor product. As I mentioned, they never connect to the internet. I only use open source is a must. So all software, and preferably the hardware, is also open source so that you can verify that the code doesn't have any malicious backdoors or any flaws. And now the following three are the devices that I personally use and are my favorite. So the first one, most of you probably have heard of, CoinKite, which is the ColdCard MK4. It's this device. It looks like a calculator, but this is a super powerful device for the deceptive look that it gives you a small calculator, which I will run over the next few slides, some of the key points. The second one is one of my personal favorites, is SeedSigner. So this product, why I love it, it's not SeedSigner, it's not a company, it's a community-led project, which I will share a few more insights in the following slides. And of the SeedSigner, the last open source air-gapped wallet is Specter Shield. So this is slightly larger version of the SeedSigner, and SeedSigner, as we'll find out, was born from this project. So if there would be no Specter, SeedSigner highly possibly would have come around. So let's hit them off one by one with ColdCard. As you can see, the company's been around for a very long time, since 2013. Some of the unique selling points are that they're a Bitcoin-only hardware wallet designed for advanced security. They are true air-gapped operations, so there's no Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi. ColdCard was the first hardware wallet to support PSBT, which stands for partially signed Bitcoin transactions. That's how the air-gap works, where you initiate a transaction on your internet-connected device, your phone, or your laptop, and then you save that signature on an SD card. You place it into your ColdCard, enter in your PIN, sign the transactions, verify that the wallet address you're sending it to matches the one on the screen. You sign it, take out the SD card, put it back into the computer, and broadcast the transaction onto the network. And ColdCard were the guys that invented partially signed Bitcoin transactions. It features two secure elements. So how these hardware wallet devices store your seed instead of having to input it every time is they have a security element. You can see on the ColdCard it actually has two. It even has a sign that says shoot these. So in case someone's coming through and you want to destroy them, you can just smash this part and the security element is destroyed. They do support USB-C if you want to do it to USB-C. They have an NFC chip inside. So if you want to sign instead of doing the MicroSeed cards and you want to sign a transaction on your phone, you can just place it and it scans the NFC chip in it. And of course, the MicroSeed backups and signings. Finally, it's open source firmware, robust community support, and advanced anti-phishing measures. What I mean by that is it includes a duress PIN option and a trick PIN. Basically, you can set up your wallet where you have the secondary PIN that you enter it if you enter a secondary pin, it takes you to a different wallet. So in case you have a $5 wrench attack and someone tells you, oh, and steal all your Bitcoin, you don't have to give them something. So instead of giving them the actual real stash that you can have a backup different pin that takes you to a different wallet and then tell them, hey, this is all I have, and they steal that part. So that was the ColdCard. Then the next one is Specter Shield. This is like SeedSigner. It's a community-led project since 2020. It's fully open source hardware that was fully focused on multi-signature setups. So as you guys know, we have single signature setups. If you have just a single sig, you need one device with that seed to initiate the transaction. A multi-sig is when you have multiple, usually a 2 of 3 of 3 or a 3 of 5 on keys to sign the transaction. So you would have, let's say, one key on Shield, one key on the ColdCard, and one key on the SeedSigner. And in order for you to sign transactions and send Bitcoin out of your multi-sig wallet, you would need at least 2. And it doesn't matter which ones, any of the 2 to sign the transaction for it to go through. So it's basically like the pinnacle of you long-term saving vault for Bitcoin. The Shield, it has a camera at the back, just like SeedSigner. If you notice, this one doesn't have a camera. You just sign through the SDs or NFC. With these devices, you actually scan the address of the Bitcoin you want to send it to. With security elements, as I mentioned, ColdCard Q has 2 security elements. These 2 devices, this doesn't have a secure element in it, meaning every time you switch it on, which I can show you now, it'll ask you for a PIN to access it. Or what you can do with the Shield, as you can see here, you have this card slot. They sell cards, which it just looks like a bank, any bank card, and that's your actual security chip. So when you want to load your seed onto this white card, you slide it in, you load it onto the card, and whenever you want to switch it on and sign a transaction, instead of scanning your QR code, you can just slide in this card and it has your secure add on it. So it's basically a hybrid mode where you can use it without or with it, and it's detachable. If you leave this device at home and you're traveling, you can just take your secure element and all that. Nobody, from someone breaks into your house, can't transact with their device. Another thing which I really like about Specter is one device could operate multiple wallets by swapping security element cards. So it's ideal for self-custody at organizations and families. So instead of you and your kids all having their own little hardware wallet device, you can have one Specter, and each family member has their own card, which is the security element. They put it in, they generate their own wallet with their own seed phrase, load it onto that, and they can use the same device to sign transactions for all of their own individual Bitcoin things, which I think is pretty cool. And finally, designed for privacy, so can integrate with users' own Bitcoin node for greater control. By the way, all of these 3 devices you can set up and you can connect them to your own node so that you're broadcasting the signed transactions first to your node, and then it relays it to other nodes. Specter DIY is a Bitcoin-only hardware wallet that was created between 2019 and 2020 by Moritz Wirschen and Stepan Snigarov. And it's a fully open source project designed by Assemble from off-the-shelf electronic parts. So they're not something like this, which is specifically produced for ColdCard. You can buy these circuit boards of Alibaba and eBay and whatnot and build it yourself. The device features a large touchscreen, which works in an air-gapped fashion. So for us older people, we prefer a bigger screen so we don't have to pull out the glasses to see what are we signing. And what makes it unique is that Specter DIY doesn't store the Bitcoin seed phrase. So as I said, once you power it off, it's totally bricked. There's no information. It loses all the transactions or all the seeds that were loaded onto it. This design minimizes attack surface even without a secure element. And in this case, as we were mentioning, we just started the meetup with SeedSigner and Specter, you are the secure element. And one final thing, which I think is very interesting, the Specter IP, so intellectual property, was actually bought by Swan Bitcoin. I'm sure you guys have heard of Swan Bitcoin. Back in 2021, they acquired the intellectual property of Specter as a part of their strategy to enhance Bitcoin tools and services. So they essentially wanted to build upon it and have it under their umbrella. And an interesting aspect happened just last month in August is that Swan Bitcoin actually gave back the whole IP rights to the community. So they no longer own it, urging other developers to come out and build on top of it and have it fully open source, just like SeedSigner is. So I think that's a big, big positive, and the Specter Shield is having a revival. And final but not least, my personal favorite with SeedSigner. Once again, it's also a community-led project since 2021. It's only launched a couple of years after Specter. SeedSigner project was inspired by Specter DIY to enhance affordable and accessibility up to Bitcoin custody. So Specter is a little bit more expensive because it uses a bigger screen. It's around the 200 euro mark, which to some people in some parts of the world, 200 euro is a lot of money. So SeedSigner was developed where you can also build this off-the-shelf parts. It uses a Raspberry P0 board, and you can build this not in metal, but in a 3D printed case for around $30, $35, which is super accessible to anyone in the world. So that was the main incentive with SeedSigner. It replaced the large spread screen with a small display and a simple buttons to cut costs. Air-gapped Bitcoin signing devices made from low-cost and off-the-shelf components. It's stakeless. Same as Specter, when you unplug this, it doesn't remember anything. SeedSigner actually developed the seed QR, so encoding the seed phrase in a scannable QR mode. So instead of you, every time you plug in your SeedSigner or your Specter, you need to type in the 12 words. You can either print a QR template and input your QR seed, or, which are now available, you can also get them in metal, the 12 words and the 24 words, and you can actually indent your seed QRs, so you can just have this item to scan and you can sign transactions on your device. By the way, big shout out to Goldberg, which kindly shared these brand new QR metal seed plates. And the cool part about the case as well that comes with them is you have the slots for micro SD cards, so you can also encrypt the seed phrase in an encrypted SD card and pop it into the safety box. They pioneered animated QR code transaction signing flow through highly security and without any cables or wireless connections. So when you want to sign a transaction with your SeedSigner on any software of your choice, Bitcoin wallet software, which you'll see in the next slide, which are some of my favorites. You want to sign a transaction, you scan the QR code on the screen, you then confirm, you scan the other QR on your actual device, and you broadcast the transaction. So it's a much smoother experience than doing the SD card in, out, and shuffle it around. And the CPUR innovation later was also incorporated to the Specter, which essentially inspired the SeedSigner project. So we have MicroSeed, and there's many other options such as Passport Foundation and also the ColdCard Q. But personally, I'm sharing what I personally use, but everybody's open to and welcome to experiment and choose their preferred one. Now, seed generation best practices, how to generate these seeds. So usually most people do the manufacturer's default mnemonic seed phrase generation. So they just select create your wallet and it just spits out 12 words and you write those down. You then had a dice roll option, which is something that's very popular with SeedSigner users, where you roll the dice 50 times, you write down the number of the dice and it makes up the words. So for a 12 word, you need to roll the dice 50 times. And you notice if you want to do a 24 word, you roll the dice 99 times. Third option is seed words in a bag. So there's also companies that sell these seed words and you can just shuffle them into a bag and just at random pick out your 12 numbers and create it, which some argue is even more random. Or you can do a hybrid method. So for example, with the ColdCard, you can do a mix of Mac manufacturer default mnemonic seed phrase. And the last two words, you can do a dice roll. So you mix it up. So you're not fully relying on the actual manufacturer's device to generate your seed words. Always generate your seeds with true randomness and never use a web generator. I don't think most people do, but just still, it doesn't hurt to say it. Like, don't use web generators for your seed phrases. Now, the next section of the best methods to store those. So you chose your hardware wallet, you chose your seed phrase generation, that have these stored. So storing your keys is the most vital thing to secure your Bitcoin long term. Even if you lose the device, as long as you have your seed phrase safe, you have nothing to worry about. Most people start up with a paper backup. So this is where we all start, including myself and everybody else. In your hardware wallet box, you get the 12 words to write down on a piece of paper. Usually people write them down, place them nicely in the box, forget about the box. And then one day the hardware wallet stops working and the panic starts kicking in. Where's that box with the 12 words? And there's a good chance you lost the box and the Bitcoin's gone. So this is just a temporary first step, but you need to upgrade ASAP. How do you upgrade? Metal backups. So practically indestructible. They're stainless steel, some are titanium. Specialized products, some of the great companies out there, Seedor, Stampseed, which I was closely and still am affiliated with, CryptoSteel, and MicroSeed, which is one of the newcomers. They're about 5-6 months old, which they came up with a very, I'll call it, unique way of stamping your seed phrase. And finally, you have encrypted SD cards. So you can store your seed on the ColdCard. You can encrypt your seed phrase onto an SD card. It gives you a 20-character passphrase to decrypt the SD card when you place it into the computer. And then you can just store this little SD card, and whenever you want to get access to your seed phrase, you pop it into any computer, you type in 20-word passphrase to decrypt it, and you get your 12 words. Some people say that's like the optimal way, because even if you have like a SD card lying around, nobody's going to ever suspect that there's, a Bitcoin seed phrase on it. So it's not that open and visible to the naked eye compared to the metal QR seed or the actual metal parts with the words. If someone finds them, even the words themselves, it's even easier. They can just, input if they know what they're doing and restore the wallet. So there's plus and minuses for all of them, which is hence combine multiple methods for reduced redundancy. So you don't have to exclusively focus on one. You can have paper backup somewhere, metal backup, and have your SD card stored geographically in different places. This is the MicroSeed, and after we finish the presentation, I actually have one in here. Graciously, thank you to Daniel. Shout out to another great project who sent it over. This is a brand new project that, as I mentioned, it's about 4 or 5 months old. The incredible stuff about the MicroSeed is that you can store your entire 12 or 20, 24 seed words on a single 1-inch washer. How do you do that? The embedding of the actual engravers, they are 1 millimeter in diameter. So that's with hardware wallet storage. Now the next slide, which I think is super important, is favorite wallet software. So we have our signing devices, but what Sparrow Wallet is the industry standard for best software wallet to use, where no matter what device you have, you can connect it to your Sparrow Wallet. You have very advanced features on it, so it caters to new people to Bitcoin and people that do very sophisticated transactions and multi-sig setups. It's compatible, as I mentioned, with most hardware wallets, gives you complete control over UTXOs. And Sparrow, you can clearly just go to UTXOs tab, and you can see all your individual transactions that have come to the wallet. So Sparrow is the go-to, and in this one is one of the later wallets that I've been, as of recently, started using, which is called Liana. Liana, just like Sparrow, it's an open source, free software. So there's no subscription, there's no KYC. This is all pure privacy freedom tech that we're discussing. Liana utilizes Miniscript, which is a new implementation in Bitcoin. It's been around for about 4 or 5 years, which utilizes Taproot, which allows you, after a certain amount of blocks, the configuration of your multi-sig can reconfigure and go into a single sig. Now, why would that be interesting? For example, myself, I have my multi-sig setup, but God forbid, I don't wake up tomorrow. If my family wants to recover our vault, they need to know where the hardware wallets are, which ones they need to sign, where do they sign, the descriptor of the multi-sig wallet. If they don't have my laptop, it's like very complicated. With Liana, I can still have my very complicated super parameter setup, but if I don't sign a transaction from my Liana wallet within my set period, which is 12 months, this 2 of 3 multi-sig switches into a single sig. So I give to my loved ones a brand new seedword generated wallet with a signing device, one signing device. And if something happens to me after 1 year, they can have full access to the funds with their own single signing device. Because it's like before Liana was, do I go crazy multi-sig setup, or they just have a single sig in case something happens to me and my family can still recover it. With Liana, you can do both. So Liana allows you to set your wallet and encourages you also to run a Bitcoin node. So when you download, you go to Liana website, you get the wallet when you create a new wallet, it asks you if you want to connect to a node or if you want to run your own node on your device. What you run is called a pruned Bitcoin node, meaning it still initially downloads all the transactions that happened since Genesis block in 2009, but it discards all transactions. So it only holds about like 2-3 months worth of transactional history on your computer. And after that period, it discards and it follows the next 3 months. So whenever you're sending transactions through Liana, you're utilizing your own node that's running on your computer. So you don't need a separate setup. And never use manufacturing apps. As I said, Trezor, Ledger, all of these guys have native software apps that most people use to interact with their Bitcoin. People should be aware that those wallets are connected to someone else's server who they're not maybe ill-minded today, but you never know what happens tomorrow. What governments take control of those servers and they can see all of your inbound and outbound transactions that you've been doing from your wallet. I guess you already know about Become Unruggable. I mentioned it in the beginning, but just a quick overview. So I consult individuals, families, small to medium enterprises in regards to anything from basic to advanced self-custody practices and strategies. This consulting service is not just for beginners, but also people that are holding their own keys, but they haven't upgraded their setup in a long time, or they want to audit or do like an attack vector to see how robust the recovery backups are. Become Unruggable is not just about focusing on protecting your Bitcoin, which essentially it is, it's even in the logo, but it goes further than that. So with the minties that I have so far, once we finish the whole self-custody setup, we go to the next stage, which is protecting your whole digital footprint. So that means upgrading the way you actually interact with the internet protocol, not just the Bitcoin protocol. So the use of VPNs, avoiding online tracking wherever possible, different browser choices, operating systems, using secure mobile operating systems, Graphene OS. So this recording is happening on a Graphene OS, and this is my other Graphene OS. It's a Pixel phone, but the Graphene OS, it's a Linux distro, so it basically de-Googles your phone. And the reason it's on a Pixel, only Google allows you to install custom operating systems. So an iPhone, as nice as they are, they go and let you remove iOS and install your open source operating system. I help people to start accepting Bitcoin in an easy way, may that be online stores or physical options. And if you guys are interested, you know where to reach out to me. My DMs are always open on all platforms. Then BTCPay Server. Actually, I was meant to, but I did it. We'll code about now. BTCPay Server is one of my favorite open source projects in the space. They are basically self-hosted Bitcoin payments processor. So if you want to accept, I'll put my the committed guys. They have these dot packs with the BTCPay Server, and this is thanks to Rockstar Dev. It's full privacy focused, zero KYC. So if you want to accept Bitcoin as an online store or physical store, you can set up a BTCPay processor for your shop in a matter of a couple of hours. Get it set up with cold storage. So all the money that you're making, and you can either link it with Liana, where it goes into self-custody storage. You can accept both Bitcoin on-chain and L2 options, such as Lightning. There's no middleman fee. So BTCPay Server, it's a community-led project. They don't take no 1%, 2%. You have to look at it as a business where Visa and MasterCard take anywhere between 2 to 4, 5% of all the transactions that happens. When you're doing like hundreds of thousands or millions of euros worth of transactions annually, those percentages are huge. And if you use BTCPay, you eradicate all those middleman fees. It's easily deployable and customizable, and it's free open source software. So anybody can contribute code to them through their GitHub repository. And the final pinnacle, which is Bull Bitcoin. And so what you guys know for this meetup, I said there's going to be hats where we're going to give these Bull Bitcoin hats out. There was a slight delay. They came today, but I didn't have time to pick them up. So tomorrow, picking them up. So everybody at the event, you will get a Bull Bitcoin cap. But to tell you what is Bull Bitcoin, BullBitcoin.com is a non-custodial Bitcoin-only exchange, an OTC desk that's been running since 2013. They are probably the longest-standing Bitcoin-only exchange in the world. Non-custodial, meaning when you buy Bitcoin or Bull Bitcoin, they never hold your Bitcoin. So when you create your account, you make your wire from whatever card you want to use. And when it lands in your account, the fiat will be euro, pesos, whatever it is, and you want to buy Bitcoin. When you want to buy Bitcoin, you need to input the wallet address, which you get from your Sparrow or your Yara, where the Bitcoin gets sent out when the Bitcoin is purchased. So they never, ever hold your Bitcoin. It's not like the system of Kraken and Binance where you send money there, you buy Bitcoin or some shitcoin, and it just sits there in your portfolio. It's not your coins. It's Binance's coins or Kraken's coins. With Bull Bitcoin, whenever you buy Bitcoin, since 2013, it goes straight into your cold storage. Focused on Bitcoin only, in its self-explanatory. Instant withdrawals to send money to Bull Bitcoin and get it out. It's instantaneously. It's instant SEPA. So it's not like other exchanges which take 2 to 3 business days and you're waiting. You can usually live off, and I do, off Bull Bitcoin. There's no hidden fees. They have a flat 2% fee, which is a markup for buy or sell, and that's that. There's no withdrawal fees for fiat. There's no withdrawal fees for Bitcoin. So they have a very transparent fee model. This next point just came out a few days ago, and I'm going to blow your guys' heads because it's automated DCA, dollar cost average, direct to your hardware wallet. So get this. You can set up, you create an account on Bull Bitcoin. You set up on your Revolut, monthly recurring transfer from your Revolut to your Bull Bitcoin account, the 100 euros, 1,000 euros, whatever you're buying on a monthly basis. And in your Bull Bitcoin account, you import your XPub, which is basically your fingerprint of your hardware wallet. And you set the recurring buys, maybe that be weekly or monthly. And whenever it buys, it sends automatically to your cold storage. So you never even have to open your computer, and your DCA is fully automated. Strong security measures. They employ robust security protocols to protect user data and funds. Bull Bitcoin's been around for over a decade, and they only focus on Canada because they're a Canadian company. And one interesting fact, they're one of the only exchanges which never got any VC funding, no external investors. Everything was funded and led by Francis Pouliot, who is the founder and CEO of Bull Bitcoin. Fantastic individual. He basically bootstrapped the whole exchange. And even though today most exchanges, and they also entered Europe in January, hence why I'm using them, and all European countries can use it, you still need to do KYC because that's compliance, right? But their KYC is by far the smallest minimum that they can take, which is you take a picture of your driver's license, front, back picture, and that's it. There's no selfie with a piece of paper and the date. There's no proof of funds, proof of address, none of that malarkey. It's literally just your driver's license or your ID, and that's it. So Francis and I spent 4 days with him in Prague. We were together at BTC Prague, and he reassured me that he literally said, I'm dying on this hill. If they push me to the extent that I need to release information on my clients, I'm closing the exchange and they're not getting nothing. It's game over. So he's very privacy focused. He has to do the KYC part because it has to, but he doesn't release it. The only way they would release any client information is that if there's a court order that you have done financial fraud and stuff, and it's actually signed by a court order, they will give that specific client's information to the court. But apart from that, they're not going to be anything. So to me, even though it's KYC, I feel it comparatively the same as non-KYC P2P because I have full faith in Francis and the team. They have the best-in-class customer support where in your dashboard, you have a live chat and you actually speak to a human, not a bot. You don't have to do this, submit the ticket if something's not working. You send them a message and they respond to you within 10, 15 minutes. It's ridiculous. And recurring buy options, I kind of jumped the ship with the automated DCA. They have the same. You can set up a buy limit order. You can do automated DCA, but this going directly to hardware wallet, this is a first for any exchange. Bull Bitcoin is not just an exchange. They have, in my personal opinion, and my go-to Bitcoin hot wallet, it's called Bull Bitcoin. It's on Android. So for the Android users, we can use it already from now. For the Apple users, they're going through the file stage, their test flight. So it's kind of the beta testing. But once they finish the Tango bureaucracy with Apple and they get it into the Apple Store, the iPhone people will be able to use it. It's a fantastic wallet due to 2 things. For simplicity. So it's actually, you have 2 wallets within your wallet. You have secure Bitcoin, which is your on-chain, and you have instant payment Bitcoin, which is your liquid and lightning. And now we have bolts, which is a bridge between the different layers of Bitcoin. So they behind the scenes can interswap on-chain to liquid, liquid to lightning, lightning to on-chain, all in the background for like a fraction of a cent. So All Bitcoin also has the bulk swap in the background. So whenever you want to receive a payment, either from lightning or liquid or on-chain, you can all do it through one app. And the great thing is your DCA, you can also set it up, which I personally do and recommend, from your Bitcoin wallet exchange to your liquid address. So whenever you're getting money to this wallet, it's already kind of, to a certain extent, likely anonymizes it. You know how much money you went through. And then from here, I can instantly swap it to on-chain and then send it to via Spiral to my hardware wallet. And one final thing on Bull Bitcoin is they also have a Prime division, which is their kind of DIP department. So for high net worth individuals and business clients that want to buy or sell from 50,000 euros to 50 million euros, they have a separate division that deals with the OTC for these large transactions. To finish it off, self-custody summary. Always use air-gapped hardware wallets to sign your Bitcoin transactions. I already mentioned it's super important to run your own node. If not running a full node, then a approved node, as we saw with Liana, can be done by anyone. There's no technical abilities you need. Storing your seed phrases in multiple geographical secure locations is a must. You never know what happens to your house. Even if you have a metal plate and your house burns down, there's a high chance that you're going to scrap all that dirt and truck it away and you'll never find it. So it's good to have backups in different places. Using pine locks, as we mentioned with Liana, for practical and easy inheritance recovery plans. So you don't need your family with a whole Da Vinci quest to get to the Bitcoin, but they have one key to sign transactions. Lastly, remember to keep it KISS. Keep it stupid simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Take it step by step. That is it. So thank you all for attending. And this is now the fight for the Q&A and self-custody discussions. So I'll just switch this off. Thank you all for watching.